Suzy Pranam. Welcome to today's topic, which is pre and perinatal psychology. So let's look into understanding pre and perinatal psychology. So the art of bringing a new life is merely not a biological process. It's actually a very complex interplay of emotional, physiological, and psychological processes. So initially, it was believed that childhood experiences determine the psychological, emotional, and overall well-being of the individuals in the later stage of their lives. But the recent science have really started considering that the experiences, even from the infancy, could influence the later child development. And also, the research have progressed to reveal that the experiences during pregnancy as well as immediately after pregnancy within the first year, which is called as perinatal phase, can affect overall development of the child. So currently the modern psychology has started to consider life, as in consciousness, as a continuum rather than simply journey from birth to death. And it has started to explore the journey beyond birth and death. So during the prenatal period, which encompasses the time in womb, and the perinatal period, which is the 1 year from birth, includes the time during, the 1 year in the birth. This has a lot of factors that influence the overall mental state of the child. One is maternal mental state, the environmental stimuli, the emotional experiences. All these leaves a quite lasting imprints on the developing baby. And these imprints can influence various aspects of the baby's life, and including its learning ability and also the way the child will continue to interact with the world in the later life also. So this field of psychology has led to the development of various therapeutic and preventive intervention aimed at supporting the well-being of the unborn child and newborns. And adults who may have been adversely affected by the early prenatal or the perinatal challenges can go through these therapies and really create a better future for their child. Now, when we look at understanding it more deeply, we can say in simpler terms, prenatal and perinatal psychology examines how the environment and experiences within the womb and during the childbirth impacts the individuals throughout their lives. And it encompasses factors like sounds, light, maternal emotions, and even dietary preferences, which can shape a person's thinking, feeling, and behavior. And research suggests that these early events can have a profound and lasting effect on the personality traits, motivation, and emotional responses of the baby later in life as an adult also. And hence, this underscores the importance of providing nurturing and supportive environment for pregnant women and infants to promote optimal development and well-being. And by understanding the significance of these early experiences, we can work towards creating a positive and supportive environment for the mothers as well as the baby in the womb and later in the outside the womb also, which will lay a foundation of a very healthy and balanced start of a new life. And this can include promoting practices like natural childbirth, skin-to-skin contact, just a moment after birth and even later during the first year specifically, and breastfeeding. And all of this have been shown to foster secure attachment and emotional resilience in infants. Now, when we come to look at the historical references, so pre and perinatal psychology can be said to be a branch of a modern developmental psychology, which focuses on psychological, as well as emotional experiences of the mothers and parents, and also their influence on the developing fetus. So, as we can say, as we know that it encompasses the time before the birth as well as during the pregnancy and the immediate period after the birth, around 1 year. So, coming back to the historical references. So, even though this looks like that this is just a modern development in psychology, and we are looking at this from a modern viewpoint, but there have been references in past in many ways of the human beings or history understanding the importance of this. For example, in Hindu mythology, there is an epic tale called Mahabharata, which is part of the sacred text of Bhagavad Gita. And there is a story of Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu has like a reference, is treated as a reference story for the impact of the mother's influences on the child. So when Abhimanyu was in the womb, his father Arjuna narrated the war strategy to the mother. And when he was born and he was an adult, in between 17 to 18 years of age, there came a time when there was an actual war happening. And then only his father was the warrior who knew how to apply that kind of a war strategy in order to come out of a certain particular type of situation. But Abhimanyu was able to replace him, since he was not available for some reason, and he could replace him and apply the entire war strategy that he learned while he was in the womb through listening through his father's word. And this is the example that is being given in the mythological story. So recently modern science has also supported similar kind of ideas, as scientific studies have shown that a mother's mental state does indeed influence the postnatal life of her children. And also the experiences while the baby on the womb continues to have external expression while the child becomes an adult. Now, coming on to the impact of the prenatal period. So during pregnancy, the mother nourishes the fetus, and the physical development of the fetus is entirely reliant on the mother's diet. So the groundwork for long-term health is also laid during the prenatal stage. Additionally, the mother's emotional, intellectual, psychological, social, as well as spiritual environment influences the psychological and emotional well-being of the baby. And these early experiences have a very significant impact on someone's life later in the life as an adult. So when it comes to alcohol consumption by mother during the pregnancy, it has detrimental effects on both the physical as well as the intellectual development of the fetus. So children born to mothers who consume alcohol have been found to exhibit poor judgment, lower IQ, and learning disabilities. Moreover, prenatal alcohol exposure negatively influences a child's behavior, often leading to restlessness. And even minimal exposure to alcohol is alcohol poisoning can, be associated with negative self-image and aggressive behavior. Similarly, smoking by the mothers during pregnancy has negative consequences for the baby. Both active and passive smoking exposure from the partner can harm the unborn child. Nicotine impairs proper digestion, hindering the supply of the necessary nutrients to the child's healthy growth. And this can result in malnutrition and also contribute to prenatal deprivation syndrome. Any form of stress experienced during pregnancy affects the child's physical as well as mental development. And these factors can increase the risk of heart disease, eating disorder, borderline personality disorder in the child, and the interaction between the parents and their unborn child have a significant impact on a child's personality. And as I discussed previously, when a mother experiences stress, the fetus often displays increased movement. And continuous stress can lead to fetal weight loss. Severe emotional stress in the mother can result in hyperactive and irritable infant. And even before we are aware of their presence, babies begin to listen and respond to their surrounding. So, an individual's life or belief about their identity and the behavioral responses actually starts taking shape as early as 0 to 18 months of age. And the foundation for the behavioral development in later stages of life is established during the prenatal stage itself. So we can look into this chart and see that there have been various research on the consumption of alcohol and the impact on the baby. So, and especially on the impact on the nervous system of the baby. And this has been shown that no amount of alcohol is safe, and no safe time and no safe type of alcohol is there to drink during pregnancy. This is what this chart signifies, that there have been different experiments checking on the frequency of the consumption of alcohol during pregnancy and the timings of consumption, etc., etc. But all have different side effects on the development of the baby. So hence, no amount of alcohol is justified during pregnancy. Now, coming on to building emotional connection. So the connection between mother and child begins even before birth, and encompassing not only the biological aspect, but also emotional, intellectual, spiritual, psychological, and social dimensions, as we discussed earlier. So the growth and development of the baby that occurs within the womb, where prenatal and perinatal stages have a very significant role in shaping the lifelong emotional and psychological well-being of the baby. So the womb can be regarded as the first ecological environment to which a human is exposed. So the experiences of the mother during pregnancy are directly felt by the unborn child. And it is not only the mother's experiences, but also the family dynamics and the environmental factors that are perceived by the child has a consistent impact on the baby. And these experiences, whether positive or negative, have a profound impact on the consistent, continuous development of the child. So a nurturing and an affectionate response from the mother contributes to the establishment of secure bond and attachment, forming the foundation for healthy relationship throughout the child's lifetime. Conversely, negative emotion experienced by the mother have the potential to result in miscarriage, stillbirth, self-induced abortion, or even neonatal death. Now, excessive maternal anxiety during pregnancy can also contribute to the development of infantile autism or congenital abnormalities. So, to cultivate a strong emotional bond between child and parents, conscious conception is imperative. If that is not possible, the parents should have an attitude of consciously accepting the child as a physically and psychologically healthy individual. Mindfulness practices can assist the couple in this process. Both mothers and fathers should communicate and connect with the unborn child through talking, singing, or playing or soothing music to foster a very strong emotional bond within the family. Now let's look at the parent-child bonding. So the baby in the womb can sense signals from the mother, and the mother's attitude has the greatest influence on the baby. So if the mother is unwilling to accept the child or harbors doubt, the infant can sense these signals, and which can affect their emotional and physical health at birth and beyond. And this unwillingness has also been linked to complicated pregnancies. It is important to remember that the unborn child is not just a physical entity, but a living being. So the quality of the relationship between parents also affects the child's health. And children from unhappy couples are 5 times more likely to experience fear and anxiety compared to children from happy couples. So offsprings from troublous marriages are at higher risk of experiencing psychological or physical birth complication compared to those from a secure relationship. And it is crucial for parents to address existing tensions and commit to welcoming an unborn child during this time. And it can have a very positive impact on the child's later life as well, if the environment is welcoming for the baby. And during the perinatal phase, which is the first year after birth, the longer duration of breastfeeding and increased skin-to-skin contact contributes to the stronger bond between mother and child. In cases of intense emotions, it's important for the child to understand the emotion is not about them, but rather about the specific incident. So the child is capable of sensing the emotion and understanding its underlying truth. And these practices like breastfeeding for a bit longer time and constant emotional care, psychological care by the parents contributes to child's emotional intelligence. Now, healing the birth traumas. So trauma refers to a psychological and physiological condition that arises from experiencing or witnessing a deeply distressing or terrifying event. And in such situation, people often feel helpless and unable to escape or prevent the traumatic event. Birth trauma specifically refers to the impact on a woman after undergoing a terrific labor or delivery experience, which can include life-threatening situations for both the baby and the mother. And additionally, people who witness the labor, such as partners or family members, may experience secondary traumatic stress. And it is estimated that around half of the mothers experience birth trauma. Birth trauma can also encompass the feelings that arise after the birth itself. So it may persist for some time and result in panic attacks or anxiety. And major risk factors for birth trauma might include unmet expectations of childbirth, stillbirth, assisted delivery, complicated labor, and injuries to the child or the mother during the labor process. While the birth trauma cannot be completely prevented, certain measures can reduce its occurrence. And these might include attending antenatal classes to prepare for the labor, or maintaining kind of realistic expectations about pregnancy and childbirth, building a support network, and seeking counseling if experiencing anxiety or depression during pregnancy. So the most common symptom of birth trauma is daily blues, which involves feeling sad in the initial days after the delivery. Other symptoms may include feeling of loneliness, avoidance of future pregnancies, or repetitive and disturbing thoughts, as well as social withdrawal and guilt. Further, birth trauma can also lead to postpartum depression, PPD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Now, there are various therapeutic approaches to healing the birth trauma. However, many times due to social stigma and fear of judgment, many mothers hesitate to voice their struggles and to seek help. So one of the crucial ways to address birth trauma is through sharing, whether it be with a partner or friends or family, or by even journaling jotting down it on the notepad, having a journal, putting all your thoughts and emotions into it, as a form of receiving solace from this. Talking is best to whoever is lovingly available to hear the trauma. This therapy works as the number one way. And the other treatments and other options can include, exposure to professional therapies, which can really encourage mothers to confront their fear. Also, they can go for cognitive behavioral therapy, which involves reprogramming the mind by changing thoughts and behaviors. And eye movement is also there. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. This therapy also works quite well. And a mental health therapy that involves specific eye movements while processing traumatic memories. This therapy has been shown to have great results in healing the trauma experiences for the mother. Also, yoga in itself can be really, really helpful. Postnatal yoga, meditation, all these healing modalities has great impact on people with past history of trauma or birth trauma. Now, creating a supportive environment. So human beings are not solely determined by their DNA or genetics. Rather, they are a combination of their genetic makeup and their environment. So the emerging field of epigenetics reveals that gene expression is heavily influenced by the environment. And this encompasses not only the physical surrounding, but also the thoughts and the emotion that surrounds an individual. Therefore, a child's development is influenced by the thought, emotion, and intention of their parent, caregivers, and immediate environment. And these early experiences leave a lasting imprint on the child and shape their later life. So from the perspective of the mother, pregnancy is a complex process that extends beyond the real biology, and it involves a multitude of emotional and psychological factors during pregnancy, labor, and perinatal period. Therefore, the support of partners, friends, loved ones, and healthcare team is very, very crucial at this point in time. So with proper support system in place, the trauma associated with labor can be significantly reduced. Now coming on to embracing the transformational journey. So yoga is a holistic practice, as we have all known so far, and which combinedly can be seen as a set of asanas, pranayama, dhyana, and mindfulness techniques. And yoga as a holistic practice enhances the overall well-being for a human being, and it is widely acknowledged for its numerous benefits to physical and mental health. So prenatal yoga can offer a range of advantages for both mothers and their developing baby, as it will help improve flexibility, strength, and balance, and elevate discomfort in the body, as well as reduce stress and anxiety, and promote a sense of relaxation for the mothers, and hence will strengthen the bond between mom and the baby. And by understanding the challenges and opportunity of pre and perinatal psychology, the yoga practice that you will introduce to the mothers can have a very emotional and physical impact in a beautiful manner and positive manner for the mother as well as the child. So it's really essential to know that the practitioners in this field, especially if you are going to teach, you are having a professional license to teach the mothers the postpartum yoga. Also, if they are approaching anybody for counseling, they should be approaching qualified professionals. And if they come up to you at any point in time during the pregnancy, specifically dealing with any kind of psychological issues, then my recommendation would be, or as an institute, our recommendation would be to guide them to approach a qualified professional who is qualified to train in, qualified to deal with all kind of mental health issues. And because intervening into certain situation is not a great idea as a yoga professional. So I would highly recommend for you to recommend to the mothers that when is the right time to approach the medical professionals. So taking the action from the prenatal stage itself is very crucial for building kind of better society in a manner, because every child that is born becomes a part of the society. And if we as a culture, as a community, as a society, as a race in itself are aware on what are the influences that contributes to a betterment or well-being of a human being later in life also, we can begin quite early. So to really nurture an ideal child, prenatal love is essential and prenatal care is essential. And if we really understand this, then encouraging the birth of unwanted children should be avoided, as unwanted and unloved children kind of pose a risk to society. And many criminal acts can be traced back to traumatic birth experiences. So without providing a nurturing prenatal and perinatal stage, efforts to bring positive changes to society will be superficial. So the system would eventually collapse in the absence of building a civilized society with moral values. So even though it's very personal on whom to give birth, when to give birth, but if the woman is already pregnant, what we should promote as a society is that every child is nurtured and cared for. And once the child is there, he or she has kind of placed their right to be part of this universe, be part of this earth physically. And hence it's our responsibility and duty to respect each being who is born, because they have their own share of what they are bringing to the world and also what they will receive from the world. And our job is to embrace them all. Our job is to have sense of unconditional love for each being that presents themselves to us. With that, I hope this was helpful and you will continue to support mothers in their journey through all the wisdom and knowledge that you're gaining through this program. And I wish you all the best with all the experiences that you will have through mothers and everything that you're going to share to the world, as well as to the beautiful mothers and children through this program. With that, thank you and namaste.